So yes, I know I'm super late to the party on this one, but lately I've finally been able to catch up on the movies that everyone saw at least a week ago. Sorry, now I get to talk about Deadpool 2. Better late than never, right? Also, solo review will be out at some point, not sure when. Anyway, let's stay on target. Deadpool 2. Did it live up to the first? Let's talk about it. Yes, it did live up to the first. Most of you have seen this by now, so I think I'm just gonna go full spoilers in this video from the very start. I know I normally don't do this, but this review is late, and it's easier for a film like this. So if you don't want anything spoiled, short version, I loved it. It's hilarious, action's incredible, it does everything the first one did well, and takes it even further in a way that a sequel should. Now that that's out of the way, spoilers. Full ahead. You have been warned. So as some of you know, I was a little skeptical about this. Not only are sequels, especially comedy sequels, often quite underwhelming, but I'd felt kind of a Deadpool fatigue from the past 2 years. And I was a little nervous that this was just going to be predictable and annoying, and I'm so happy to say I was wrong. This delivered on most everything I wanted from it. Ryan Reynolds, I think, will go down with Hugh Jackman and Robert Downey Jr. and a few others as people who were just perfect for their comic book character role. I can't imagine Deadpool without him. He is so tied to this character now, through the performance and also a lot of the jokes at his personal expense. But yeah, you can tell he has a passion for this character, and he's fantastic as him. Everyone from the first film is good again, not much to say there. Dopender was a standout among those. As far as the new additions, I really like Josh Brolin as Cable. He must be having a pretty great month. He is kind of doing a similar deep gravelly voice to the one he did for Thanos, so occasionally that kind of took me out of it, and also I wasn't really clear on what his powers were. But overall, performance-wise, yeah, he's great. What you'd expect from Josh Brolin. Zazie Beetz' Domino was also great, although I gotta say, I didn't love all of her interactions with Deadpool. Like when Deadpool is with Cable is very clearly the straight man for Deadpool to play off of. And even when he's with someone like Weasel, they're kinda joking back and forth. Like banter. But with Domino, sometimes it just felt like the two were trying to out-funny each other, like in a contest. Which I guess was probably the point, but I didn't find it as funny as a lot of the other stuff. Still though, really good new addition that I'd definitely like to see more of in future films. Julian Dennison continues to be a great child actor, although I don't really know if he counts as a child actor anymore. At what age does someone stop being a child actor? Anyway, he holds his own with the rest of these A-listers, which is impressive. Also, there's a surprise Eddie Marsan, or Marsan, however you say it, who just seems to pop up in every single movie I watch. Anyway, good for him, he's great. The biggest part of Deadpool is arguably the comedy, and this 100% delivered on that. Again, my biggest concern going into this was that the humor, which had been so fresh 2 years ago, was now just going to be played out or predictable, especially because we've seen so much Deadpool stuff since then. But no, it still felt fresh. I thought the meta humor might be obvious and tired, like look, we mentioned a movie trope, or look, he glanced at the camera and made a reference. But no, it was consistently funny. Even the jokes that could be classified as more obvious or just referencey, I didn't dislike. I also thought that the gross-out crass humor might not be that funny if they just kept playing it up just for shock value, but again, it made me laugh. It has a good mix of comedy. There are some super gross, just shock value jokes, there are some more well-written, clever jokes, and it all works very well together. I believe this had the same writers from the first film, and they know how to walk the line between funny and annoying. Because this character and these jokes could easily get very, very annoying, and they never did. Maybe 1 or 2 jokes fell a little flat, but in a movie that's like 95% jokes, that's pretty impressive. Something else is that the comedy lends itself to the ridiculousness of the story. The thing is, in some of these kinds of films where something really stupid or really convenient happens, and then a character in the movie acknowledges that it's really stupid or convenient, sometimes I think, well, it doesn't really matter that you know it, it's still really stupid, and then it just comes across as lazy. But in this, with the world that they've built in these movies, it absolutely works. I mean, one of the main character's superpower is basically just the power of plot convenience, and it's played for laughs through the whole film. There's not much else to say on that front. Like, I don't want to go through my favorite jokes in the film, because explaining jokes always ruins them. I will say though, the X-Force all just dying after the badass plane jump might have been the hardest I laughed. That was amazing. In true Deadpool style, this is also jam-packed with Easter eggs, and I'm sure I didn't catch all of them, but the ones I did catch were pretty fun. All of the X-Men showing up in the mansion was one of the best. The Brad Pitt cameo, the Logan death references, the I'm Batman moment, just all of it was pretty fantastic. The Passion of the Christ reference was also great, although I seem to be the only one in the cinema who either got it or thought it was funny. Like I mentioned, there's some more just obvious references that are kind of there to just be a reference. Like Deadpool just calls Cable Thanos at one point. That's the joke, the actor played both characters. But it moves along so quickly that it doesn't take you out of it, and there are enough better Easter eggs to make up for it. Also, just want to mention, a big problem with a lot of sequels is that they just end up being a series of callbacks to the first film, and this avoided that trap. There are some, but they're minimal and spread out and mostly funny. I also heard a lot about how this has the best post-credit scenes ever. And yeah, they were pretty hilarious. I guess Vanessa's back now, so most of the film doesn't really matter, maybe? I don't know, we'll see in the next film. And then Deadpool goes back in time and not only kills the X-Men Origins Deadpool, but also 2011 Ryan Reynolds about to sign on to Green Lantern. Both made me laugh very hard, and it also amuses me to think about if there are any diehard fans out there who really like Green Lantern or X-Men Origins, and how it must feel to watch Deadpool constantly just rip them to shreds. I also gotta hand it to this film. There is a lot going on here, and it could have very easily become a huge mess, but it's balanced very well, and the plot threads connect in clever ways. You've got Deadpool's story, you've got Cable, you've got the Kid and Juggernaut, you've got X-Force and new characters, but it all melts together naturally to make a very satisfying experience. Also, the trailers gave very little away in terms of plot, so props for that. The movie's just well-paced. You've got jokes and crazy action, then a somewhat serious scene, then a long stretch of jokes and crazy action, then a somewhat more serious scene. Speaking of which, the serious scenes actually work, even more so than the first movie in my opinion. That was the thing I liked the least about the first film, is that the more serious scenes aren't as well executed as the crazy fun action and comedy. But here, while yeah, I'm gonna remember the crazy fun action and comedy more, the serious scenes do work. I wasn't crying, but for a movie this silly, they were surprisingly effective. That being said, there are a few times where the music swells, and you're not really sure if Deadpool's gonna crack a joke and break the fourth wall, which made some of those scenes a little harder to get into, but for the most part, yeah, it worked. Vanessa also dies in the first 10 minutes or something, an example of one of those good serious moments. And this didn't irritate me in the same way that, say, certain character deaths in Kingsman 2 that happened very early on did. Because here, A, they made fun of how crazy it was in the opening credits, and B, it actually had more of a proper impact on the rest of the story, and came back constantly throughout the film. While in something like Kingsman 2, it felt more just like shock value for the sake of it. We're washing everything from the first film away just 'cause we can, and it was barely mentioned again in the rest of the film. Another big aspect of Deadpool is the action, and this was amazing. I was worried because Tim Miller wasn't coming back, and his action scenes in the first film were pretty incredible, but here they got one of the John Wick directors, and if you want someone who can do action, yeah, the John Wick guys are probably the way to go. The action was fun, exciting, well shot, you can always tell what's happening, and it is brutal. This once again earns that R rating. The music is not as memorable as the first films though, gotta say, and that's probably because Junkie XL also didn't come back. This film also definitely has more special effects, and you can tell this had more money behind it. It feels like a much bigger and grander production than the first film. And just to be clear, I love most of that first film. But really, that movie has primarily two main action set pieces that take place in two locations. This just feels bigger, in a good way. It's also stepped up in terms of craziness from the first film, but it feels like a good, natural progression for this character. The first movie got pretty crazy, especially because at the time it was breaking so much new ground, but now this took it a sizable step further in terms of production value and set pieces and just the weirdness and insanity of this character and his world, and it was fantastically entertaining. It captures the spirit of the first film, but also manages to one-up it and not just copy it. It's exactly what sequels should do. The only other complaint I can think of is there was some pretty bad CGI at points. Like, some stuff looks amazing and you can see where that budget went, but then there's some CGI that is very, very noticeably CGI. The first film had a little bit of that problem too. And in a film that's so self-aware, I feel like they could have acknowledged when something looked really bad, and that would have made it better. Like Deadpool mentions there's a big CGI fight coming up, but that's about it. Oh, also, I realize I haven't talked about the Juggernaut. I feel like that would have been a super awesome reveal if I hadn't had it spoiled for me dozens upon dozens of times before going in. So I can't really speak to that, but in terms of him actually being in the film, besides some less than perfect CG at points, I loved it. Another wasted X-Men character done better in a Deadpool film. It was very cool to see. So overall, Deadpool 2 is a super fun time at the cinema. It's wildly entertaining and manages to not fall into the comedy and or just popular movie sequel trap of just being a best of highlight reel of the first film without adding much new. It steps things up, it's hilarious, and the parts that are more serious, for the most part, work. I was entertained from beginning to end, and I might even like this more than the first. I'll give Deadpool 2 a 9.4 out of 10. So those were my slightly late thoughts on Deadpool 2. What did you think of it? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. While you're at it, be sure to like this video, check out my Instagram and Twitter at BHL_Hudson. Check out this podcast about movies and TV and whatnot I do every other week with a friend of mine. It's called The Poorly Planned Podcast. And subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.